Hi, Curious Iowans. I'm Olivia Cohen, Energy and Environment Reporter with the Gazette. Have you ever wondered how people burn their prairies? Today, we're at Rich and Marion Patterson's house in Cedar Rapids, learning how they burn their prairie. Rich and Marion Patterson have a couple sections of prairie grasses and other native plants on their 2-acre property. This is what it looked like this summer. When winter arrives, these plants leave dry beige stalks behind. Every year, the Pattersons burn some of their prairies to reap environmental benefits.
One of my favorite reasons is we are following the tradition of 9,000 years of Native Americans who burned frequently and created this landscape of North America that we as Europeans came and found. So that is one thing that I really like, but there are other ecological reasons. One of them, prairie plants tend to like warm soil. They are warm season, mostly warm season grasses and flowers. And you can imagine a big fuzzy growth of grass, maybe 3, 4, or 5 feet tall, and it insulates the ground. So if it is not burned, it will take the sun longer to warm the ground, and that warm ground is what stimulates the regrowth next year. If you burn that insulation off and you turn that from being sort of a tannish growth of insulation and you convert it to a black thin layer of ash, the sun will catch that, it will warm the soil, and it will get things growing a little sooner at the same time that it is recycling minerals.
Native prairie plants have long root systems. Burning prairie helps weed out invasive species, but fire favors prairie species because the living part of the plant is under the ground.
You know, I do know that they're losers and winners by not having tall grass there in the wintertime. Obviously, when we burn a fuzzy big bunch of prairie and we turn it into a layer of ash, it's not real good cover for cottontail rabbits or maybe even mice. That might be good news for the barred owls that live down here because they can catch them a little bit easier. But it changes things. Some benefit, some don't.
But another part of it is that a prairie burn is generally not a laid waste kind of burn. There will be stalks left there, and we just leave them, and then so those little larvae will be inside those kinds of stalks. So a hot fire would lay waste to everything generally, but the cooler kind of fire that we have in the small fires, generally there's something left over so that we are not negatively impacting those insects.
There's a lot of preparation that goes into a prairie burn. Months before, the Pattersons mow fire breaks into their property. Their driveway is also a fire break between the labyrinth in their front yard and another section of prairie. Leading up to the burn, they apply for a fire permit with the County Board of Health and share information about their burn plan and who will be at the burn. The day of the burn, the Pattersons check the air pollution. If the particulates are too high, they will not be allowed to burn.
Most days it's fine. That's not an issue. We also watch the weather. If it's too windy or predicted to be too windy, we're not allowed to burn and we don't want to burn. So those two things, assuming that the air pollution is fine, that the winds look fine, then we are good to go. And that's when we call the sheriff to let them know that we do have a permit, that we are planning to burn at such and such a time, and if you see smoke, that's what it's all about.
The burn plan can be created in advance. That details what will be burned. The strategy of the burn depends on the weather conditions.
What is the wind? The direction of the wind, the speed of the wind. What is the humidity? And that would determine, and the topography. We're on a slope. That would determine whether I start the fire here or maybe over there. So that's something that you plan right before immediately. And it's part of the fun of it also, is that strategy.
Our labyrinth is small enough that Rich and I can do it on our own, and we like to do it. That's just fine. But it's always better to have a couple of other people, especially adults who know how to do this. We mentor, as I've mentioned, other people, because then it's helping them to understand that whole process of why burning is done and how it can be done safely.
The actual process of burning a prairie goes by fairly quickly. And just like that, the prairie's burned, leaving pockets for insect eggs. Do you have a question for Curious Iowa? Submit your questions at thegazette.com/curious. In Cedar Rapids, I'm Olivia Cohen with the Gazette.